Hello, everyone, and welcome to our WoodWing hosted webinar, where we reveal the research findings about the state of AI in digital asset management, led by the esteemed DAM expert and consultant Kristina Huddart. This research is supported by WoodWing and includes survey responses from over 200 users, which were organizations, consultants, AI vendors, system integrators. From diverse industries such as media, entertainment, manufacturing, creative agencies, and so forth. And by joining this webinar, you gain an exclusive chance to be the first to gain access to this report that has been launched by Kristina. So stay tuned until the end of the webinar and make sure to download and access the report that we plan to share at the end. But first, I'd like to welcome Kristina. I'm Magdalena. I'm the product marketing manager at WoodWing, and I'll be the moderator and the host for today. And I'm welcoming Kristina Huddart, who is an independent vendor-agnostic DAM consultant who helps brands, organizations, and of course, cultural heritage organizations to optimize their digital asset management practices. She has over 11 years of experience and is the founder of Huddart Consulting, where she excels in aligning people, processes, data, and technology to deliver tailored DAM solutions, earning her a reputation as a thought leader, author, speaker, and educator in the DAM field. Kristina, would you like to join us on stage, please?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for that, Magdalena. And thank you so much to everybody who's joining today. We've had over 200 participants in this research, and today is the day where it's all culminating together. So thank you so much for joining. And thank you to any of you who have contributed to this research. And I'm also really pleased to say that this research has been supported by WoodWing, and therefore we're having this webinar today with Magdalena and WoodWing. And by joining this webinar, you are going to get exclusive access to the research before anyone else gets access to the research. So I'm so glad you're here today. So just to get started, this is a little about me and what I do. I'm a DAM specialist and consultant. I help companies with selecting and implementing DAM systems, optimizing them after they've had them for a few years. I particularly love to work with organizations on change management for user adoption of new systems, including DAM, as well as other marketing technologies, and also things like metadata and taxonomy design, governance frameworks, anything related to the people, process, and data side of things, as well as the technology. So I started researching into AI in DAM specifically several years ago in early 2022, when I wrote an article for the Journal of Digital Media Management about the future of AI-powered DAM. And that got me really interested in it. And I started speaking to a lot of other people about AI and DAM and found out that we're all curious and we're all wondering, what's it going to mean for us? Is this going to make our lives easier? Is it going to change our work? What are we going to be able to do with it? And so the goal of this research this year is to empower organizations like yourselves to navigate the complexities of AI and DAM and to leverage the potential. This is the only research of its kind that I know of out there, specifically AI and DAM. And no one else has been listening to the community like we have. So we're really looking forward to launching this today.
Thank you for the introduction, Kristina. I'd like to, before we move forward with the agenda, I'd like to ask a brief poll question to the audience so we get a feel of their AI confidence. So if everybody's ready, they can see the actual poll on the right side panel of the Webinar Geek platform. Feel free to provide us with your answer.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, while you all are filling in that poll, today we're going to be talking a little bit about the key findings as well as the actionable insights from the research. So I want to jump straight into it. Hopefully you've all had a chance to respond to the poll. I can see the numbers are coming in. Very interesting. All right. So shall we take a look at the results?
Yes, of course. And on the confidence stage of how confident do they feel about AI to create marketing copy and images, yes, we've received their answers here. And you can see that around 33% are somewhat confident, 27% are neutral, and there is a very confident percentage of 10% of people. So yes, you can see the results, I hope. Yeah, and that's interesting to learn. So thank you, and please do continue. And there's been a lot of talk about the AI technologies in the community, and we hear some fear and anxiety, and others who are quite excited about AI. So I'm curious, Kristina, what are you seeing from? Have you found something during the research stage and the survey stage of your research?
Yes, and very interestingly, and similar to what we just saw in this poll, we found that 66% of individuals, so this is on a personal level, feel really positive about AI, and we're all very hopeful that it's going to actually make our jobs easier. And I think that there's a nice, healthy mix of fear and positivity, which helps us to go into this cautiously. But I think it's really fascinating to see that unlike other industries, we're seeing dam professionals as AI users, right? And we're seeing AI as an enabler in our industry rather than a threat. And I think that's really important to think about as we're talking about AI, because there are other industries who feel quite threatened by it and scared. But I think for us, we're mostly excited about it, and that helps us to go into this with a lot of positivity and curiosity. And then when we looked at it from a brand level, so when you go from the personal individual level to the organization themselves, we're still seeing that more than 50% of brands and organizations are feeling positive and they're actually experimenting with AI. So we love seeing this in the industry. And hopefully a lot of you are also experimenting with AI.
Yes, that's a great percentage. 52% ready to use and already using AI. It's a tremendous big result. But what did you find out about the AI capabilities that these people or these organizations are testing with or working, experimenting with? Can you share something about that as well?
Sure. Yeah. So we actually looked at 16 different AI capabilities. And if you're curious about what those are, because there's so many different things that AI can do read the report. But what we found is that the top 3 most used and tested capabilities, AI capabilities in DAM, are automated metadata tagging. I don't think this one's a big surprise, right? So early adopters are immediately going to the tools that are already available in some of their DAM systems. And we see a lot of DAM systems now that are offering automated metadata tagging on a basic level, but with integrations with common tools out there like Google Vision, Amazon Recognition, Microsoft Azure AI, all sorts of other common tools are already being natively integrated into our systems. And this is really exciting because I think this is a top benefit of using AI in our DAM systems. The second one here is content generation. And this is an interesting one. I do believe that when we got these responses that, yes, I think we're all kind of testing and experimenting with content generation or generative AI technologies like ChatGPT, DALL-E, Midjourney, and others. But we don't often yet see these integrated into our DAM system. So this may be something that people are experimenting with when it comes to their content and managing their digital assets. But again, this is something we haven't quite seen in our DAM systems yet. And then we also see content recommendations, right? This is a really helpful opportunity and capability with AI that allows us to be able to search easier. It means we're going to find assets that are similar based on, let's say, the subject of the asset, but it could also be based on the related content, the campaign, or the metadata information. And some really sophisticated examples of this is when you can get content recommendations personalized to you based on your own search history, whichever brand or sub-brand that you belong to. And that's when it gets really, really interesting. But what we're also seeing, and what we also asked, was not only what are people experimenting with now, but what do brands and organizations expect AI to be able to do in the future in their DAM systems and with their content. And this is really interesting because what we're seeing here are some slightly different capabilities. So these are things that users want to be able to use alongside their digital assets. So we're going to deep dive into each of these a little bit more, but I want to point out, and this is quite interesting, and I want to talk a little bit about the fact that on here, on the top 5 AI capabilities that brands are seeking, what we're not seeing is content generation. And this is really interesting because, again, we saw that on the last slide that people are experimenting with content generation. But what we're not seeing is that brands are not asking for content generation to be inside of the DAM. And I think that's really interesting because maybe it means that we all use our DAM to manage our content. We often use other tools, perhaps that are integrated or where content can flow into the DAM, but we use other tools for creation of content and production of content. That's often outside of DAM. And I think we're seeing that with the results here from the research, that people aren't desperate for content generation to be inside of the DAM and part of what the DAM itself can do. So let's deep dive a little bit into these because I just want to give you some examples of what this could mean. And I just want to point out that I'm going to show you some AI standalone tools. I'm not promoting any of these. They're just a couple that I've come across and I think are quite interesting examples. But also none of these are linked with any specific DAM vendor. So I just want to caveat this before you see these. All right. So firstly, for improved search and discovery, there are loads of different AI tools out there. And the idea here would be that it would help us to find any of our existing content, perhaps unstructured data. And this is where it gets interesting, right? Because with our DAM systems, we apply a lot of metadata, but sometimes we get migrated assets or a new collection that comes into the DAM that's completely unstructured. We don't know much about it, doesn't have much metadata on it. And this is where we can use AI to do some really clever things. So we can use natural language processing, computer vision, language translation, with all sorts of different kinds of content to be able to find it. So in this example, if I was searching for a woman doing yoga wearing a Garmin smartwatch, I might be able to find this image based on some basic elements of AI, right? So could probably identify a woman doing yoga. But the Garmin smartwatch, that's an interesting one, right? We probably need to train the AI to recognize that product specifically. And we'll talk a little bit more about training. And then this example on the right here is an example of how AI can extract speech to text. So if you are managing a lot of audio, podcasts, or whatever it might be, and video, if someone is speaking or there's a voiceover in those assets, you can use AI to automatically extract that text, create subtitle and caption kind of files, but also to search within the text. So if I want to find a specific moment where my CEO said something really interesting, I can do that with AI. All right. So another example of AI and DAM is for content management and moderation. Now, this is an example from Media Lake AI, which is a company that can help you to detect duplicates of assets throughout all of your different systems. It can help you to select and recommend assets, and it can also help you with moderation. So things like if we're searching for, well, let's say we get a big chunk of user-generated content is submitted to us. Again, it's unstructured data. We don't know much about it, but we can use AI tools to help us to moderate and sift, right? So we can find anything that's not safe for work, anything that doesn't match your campaign or match your brand standards, right? So those are easy ways you can use AI to manage your content. Then, of course, back to automated metadata tagging. This is something that we're all very excited about. And again, there's so many tools out there and different ways that we can use this. So do think about your use cases. But here are some examples. Of course, we can use AI to automatically identify objects and locations on the image. So let's say if I needed to know that this handbag is in the upper left-hand corner of the image, AI can tell me that. And we'll come on to cropping in a moment. It can help us with facial and celebrity recognition. And we can also have specifically trained models that can detect brand-specific objects. So in this example here on the right from Clarify, you can see that they've put in some CCTV footage from a motorway. And because they've trained the AI to recognize exactly which make and model of the car you're seeing zooming past on the motorway, they can now do some analysis on that information, and they know which cars are most commonly seen on this motorway. So again, you can do some incredible things with AI and metadata tagging. Then, of course, we all want to use AI for DAM analytics and insights. And this is an interesting example. Again, just one example. There's so much more we can do with AI. But this is an example from Creative X, which helps us to extract creative quality scores. So what you can do is you can input all of your content, and it will spit out individual creative quality scores for each piece of content that tells you exactly, is this good quality content? Is it on brand? Does it meet the needs of the market, the audience, the channel that I'm planning to publish it to? Which of this content scores the best and which is going to be most effective? So again, some really exciting things we can do there. And then finally, one last example of some of the AI that we're looking forward to in the future is automatic cropping and editing and format optimization. So here's an example of how you could have one image in your DAM, but you may be able to create and automatically create multiple crops from that one image so that you can have the right images for, let's say, your product website.
Wow. Well, this really does look amazing. And yeah, does this mean that AI already meets our expectations and that it can do everything we want it to do?
Not quite. And this is where I think we all need to come back down to reality just for a moment, because as you can imagine, I mean, we're right at the start of the AI revolution, and there's still going to be a gap between what you want AI to do and the technology that is currently available, or what's currently, affordable, let's say, right? So there are some limiting factors that means that actually what we can do right now with AI might be a little bit more limited than we would like it to be. But there are lots of possibilities out there, and we want to explore that a little bit more.
Well, you really do raise an interesting point with this. But are you saying that you're saying that the AI technologies we want are already out there, but perhaps the tech we want is not available, or yeah, there are difficulties to get there? Can you tell us a bit more about this, perhaps?
Yeah, so let's look about that. So in the research, again, we did look at understanding where is the tech that people are using, and this is quite interesting, these results. So of the 52% of brands and organizations that responded by saying, yes, they are experimenting with AI, we found that only 47% of those respondents are using AI that is already integrated into their DAM system. And then 72%, so some of the same people as well, are experimenting with AI that is, let's say, free or available outside of the DAM. Again, this goes back to things like ChatGPT, Claude, DALL-E, Microsoft Copilot, any sort of like video creators, image creators, photo upscaling, let's say, all sorts of different tools that we can play with, but they don't necessarily have to be integrated with our DAM systems. And while we're speaking about integration, something I wanted to kind of point out here is that we do have a lot of options for integrating AI into our DAM. Firstly, we can rely on our DAM vendors to natively integrate tools, which again, this is really exciting because it means that they're going to be easy to use. They're going to be kind of built into the user interface and much easier to access. And again, we already see 41% of organizations are already using what's natively integrated into their DAM tools. So if you've got it, please do use it. But just remember that it's okay to go out and bring your own AI to the party, right? There's nothing wrong with doing that. And there are many ways to integrate AI into your DAM. So you can leverage any pre-built plugins. So our vendors are, our DAM vendors are working very closely with AI vendors to build some plugins that make it really easy to onboard to a new tool. You can also use a piece of middleware called iPass to integrate different solutions. And again, that's kind of one of the easier options. But if you really need a bespoke, tailored solution and you have perhaps an AI tool that hasn't really been integrated with your DAM or any DAM previously, then you might need to go down the route of developing a bespoke API integration. You probably want to work with a system integrator to get this right and to maintain it over time, but you do have all those options. And then there's always option number 5, which is, does it always have to be integrated? Maybe not. And this is something to really consider when you're thinking about your strategy and how you need the AI to access your content within DAM. Sometimes it doesn't need to be integrated, and that's okay. But we do often find that integrations do help with the flow of content, making our workflows easier and a bit more seamless. But we know that they're costly and sometimes difficult to maintain. So do take into consideration that you don't have to integrate everything. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about training, because I think this is quite an interesting area that not many organizations are doing yet, but definitely something to think about. So one of the things we asked the participants in the survey was, are you training your AI tools? And we found that only 13% of organizations are doing this so far, which is fair, right? We're still, again, early in the AI revolution. We want to use what we have, and training, again, requires more effort and data and investment. So it's understandable that not that many organizations have started training their tools, but I want to give you an example of how this can be really useful and why it's useful to think about training your tools. So here's an example on the right of an image from Coca-Cola. They are a sponsor of the Olympic Games in Paris this year. And these are all the athletes that they sponsor for the event. So you can see that this is a composite image, which means that they've taken hundreds, if not thousands, of images, videos, probably lots of other content with these individuals. They've done separate photo shoots with each of these athletes, and they have that all stored in their DAM, and then they create these composite images. So this guy in the front that I've highlighted here, his name is Sean McCall. He is a Canadian sport climber, and he's sponsored by Coca-Cola. So they have images of him in all different positions, holding different products, Coca-Cola products. And there are probably thousands of images of him and videos and different pieces of content that they're storing in their dam. Now, imagine that Sean wins the sport climbing event at the Olympics. The first thing they're going to need to do at Coca-Cola is turn around and be able to access that content immediately, perhaps even automatically push that content to social media to say, congratulations, Sean, on winning. We're so proud of you. Thank you for letting us sponsor you. But they're going to need to do that very quickly and in a way that they can choose the right images. And you can do this again and help to kind of drive this, make it easier and quicker with AI. So for example, if we wanted to find a specific image of Sean sitting, not standing, holding smart water like he is in this picture, but not holding a Coca-Cola or any other products, and in this position or with a certain expression on his face, we could do that with trained AI. Because again, it will recognize his face because we've trained it to recognize his face. It will recognize our specific products because we've trained it to recognize that product. Without training, the AI tool probably won't be able to find the specific image. So useful one to think about in the future.
Well, yeah, that's a very interesting example and very up-to-date current one, current matter. But I'm interested to find out. So once companies start using AI in their dam, what are they expecting to achieve? And on that matter, I will also maybe run a poll while you try to give us the examples and feedback on that about, are the companies or of all the listeners at this webinar planning to experiment with AI in them in the next 12 months? So I'm going to run the poll. Everybody, please continue listening to Kristina's response to my question, and of course, provide us with your feedback on the poll. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So when we ask people what they expect to achieve with AI in their dam systems, we heard the top 3 things are boost my efficiency and productivity. Understandable. I want to use AI to help me save time and speed to market. Just gave you that example with Coca-Cola. That's a good one. And I also want to save costs, right? I think we all do. And these are really important benefits to think about, particularly when you're building your business case for AI, and making sure that you get a good balance of these benefits versus the costs of the AI tools themselves. All right, how are we doing on this poll?
I think we can end it. We have some feedback, and it's interesting. So ending interaction, and just gonna share the results. You can see it on the right. So 58% said yes, that they're ready and planning to experiment with AI in DAM in the next 12 months. We had 8% of no's and 34% of not sure yet. So it's interesting to hear that almost 60% of the listeners here are ready to do some experimentation. So yeah.
Yes. And here we go again, this positive can-do attitude. Again, love the DAM community for this and love that you're looking to jump into it. And for those not sure, hopefully we can use this research and help you to feel more confident about experimenting with AI in DAM. I want you all to come away from this really inspired and wanting to just go out and try something, right? Let's see what we can do. And maybe for the no's, we can move you to a not sure, hesitantly confident.
Yeah. Okay, so we know that users have high expectations of what AI will be able to help them do and achieve. But why are only 52% of these companies experimenting or using AI in them? What is holding companies back? Have you got some nice feedback on that, Kristina?
Yes, and this was something really interesting. So for any of you who are not really sure if you're going to experiment, or your company's not sure if they want to experiment, or you're kind of feeling like no, my company maybe has told me I'm not allowed to experiment. We have explored in this research what it is that's holding people back. What are the barriers to companies wanting to get into this game? Because the getting into AI is going to be so key to the competitiveness of all of our companies. And it's something we're already seeing. Those who have started early and started experimenting and have use cases are already excelling beyond those companies who are holding back and waiting to see what everybody else does. So, so let's talk a little bit about these concerns, because there are definitely ways that we can mitigate these concerns and also, come out of this successful, right? So, let's look at each of these in turn. So, firstly, a lot of you are concerned that the data quality and accuracy of AI-generated metadata is perhaps not always that great. So what can we do to mitigate that? Well, like we talked about, you've got to train your AI tools. If you want AI to give you brand-specific, product-specific information and really be able to identify your content, you've got to train it, because the basic tools that are coming out of Google and Amazon and Microsoft, these are all tools that are going to identify, let's say, there's a dog in the image, but it's not going to identify what breed of dog that is. So it's really important that we do train our tools to be able to get more specific. And we did ask participants in the research whether how they're going to train their AI tools. And we had some really interesting responses here, and I was quite surprised by this. So what we heard is that 54% of the respondents said that they are expecting DAM vendors to help them train AI. Whereas about 46% said that they were planning to handle training in-house. Now, I just want to give you a bit of a warning here, because I think this is, if we're asking our DAM vendors to help us with an AI tool that has been integrated with DAM, that's a big ask. That's a tough ask for a DAM vendor. And I really feel that as a community, we're going to be better served if our DAM vendors prioritize focusing on the core DAM functionality. We want them to give us great DAM functionality. And we don't necessarily need to distract them and get them sidetracked with these AI features that we want help with. So in this case, if you're ever wondering, where do I get training support and how can I train my AI? I do recommend reach out to consultants, get some external help, talk to your AI vendors, because they may have partners that they work with who can help you do that training. But definitely speak to your DAM vendors, but don't expect your DAM vendors to do the training for you or to necessarily be kind of dropping everything else that they're doing and helping you with that. That's not something we want them to get distracted with. And finally, don't forget, we still need humans in the mix. This is so important. AI is not taking our jobs. It's going to be our assistant, and we're still the experts, right? So what we can identify with our human eye and our human knowledge and our human experience, that's always going to be superior to what the AI tools can recognize. So we need to get in there. We need to moderate the results of AI. We need to review those and validate those, and keep teaching it so that it gets smarter and better and has better results in the future. So two other things that a lot of you have raised concerns about are people elements of AI. So this is the need for skilled human oversight. Like we just said, we still need humans, the moderation and the resources, right? This is, despite the fact that AI, a lot of companies are, talking about, will AI take away our jobs? Actually, no, we probably still need the same amount of people, if not more. But we need them to be better at AI and more expert in the AI and how to how to guide our AI tools. And then, of course, we also have a scarcity of in-house AI expertise. Now, not too worried about this because, again, we're right at the beginning of the AI revolution, so it's not surprising that it's new for a lot of people. People don't have this knowledge. So a few ways that you can address that is to firstly recognize that there will be parts of the organization who are afraid. They're going to be worried and concerned about the impact of AI. And we still need to treat our employees and our staff as individuals, right? So everyone's going to have a different reaction to this. And we want to support everybody, speak to them, make sure that they're comfortable with where this is going. Then, of course, once everyone's in a safe space and feels like they can start experimenting, then we can increase their knowledge, right? So we can provide training and education, and we can foster that culture of curiosity. And then from there, we can start to build a network of automation champions. These are people who really understand automation. They understand our workflows. They understand how we work in our organizations, and they want to help make it better, easier, faster for everybody else. And of course, we can upskill staff to really work with their AI assistants, and it might be a different skill set for each person. And so what's really important here to think about is that you really want to give your employees that psychological safety so that they feel safe to experiment, learn, and get involved with AI. And they're not so afraid of the fear of failure or mistakes. We know at the beginning of any of these journeys, there's going to be failures and mistakes, and that's okay. We just need to get up, dust ourselves off, and keep learning and keep trying again. All right. The next thing that we heard people are concerned about are the ethical considerations and concerns about biases in AI. And this is real. There are incredible, sometimes very surprising biases in AI. We hear about it every day in the news. So this is definitely something to think about. What's interesting here is that we did hear that 50% of brands are aware of the AI-related risks and already have a plan in place. So congratulations to any of you who have a plan in place to mitigate those biases. 39% of brands know about the risks but don't yet have a plan. And then 11% of brands are not aware of AI-related risks. So that's an interesting statistic. And please, for any of you who are not aware of AI-related risks, do some research, come and talk to me. I don't want to scare you with anything, but I can definitely share plenty of stories of how we do need to consider the ethics and biases within AI. So a few things you can do here: establish clear guidelines, develop robust governance, and test and learn to make sure that you're able to recognize those biases and work around them so that it's not impacting your brand material. And then finally, major concern here, right? Everybody's worried about the cost of implementation. What's it going to cost? What's it going to cost? And a lot of the experimentation we're doing are with the free versions or the trial versions, or kind of small costs here and there. But ultimately, if you want to really invest in AI to solve a problem for your business, it will take investment. So I put together a bit of a list here of the different costs that you should consider. And make sure you don't leave any of these out, because if you're thinking about the full cost of AI, it's going to include not only the monthly AI licenses. Sometimes AI systems will charge based on volume. So if you put in 1,000 assets or 1 terabyte of assets, then it will charge you a certain fee. Some of them are monthly based, but each of the pricing models is a little bit different. Think about the implementation and maintenance costs. Again, talk to your the person that's helping you with implementation, external consultants or partners that are supporting you with this, and how are they going to maintain those implementations. Think about your integration costs. Talk to your developers in-house or your system integrators. Talk to them about what the costs might be, and again, the maintenance costs there. Definitely remember your staff costs. Because we're getting in AI doesn't mean we're not going to need staff. It's quite the opposite. We definitely need staff to make sure that this is working well. And then also think about the cost of training your AI. Like we talked about, if you want your AI to recognize your brand materials and specific things that a generic AI tool would not be able to recognize, you're going to have to train it. So think about the cost of doing that training, getting all the data clean in advance, and how to go about doing that.
Well, I suppose, yeah, thank you, Kristina, for sharing these top 5 concerns and, of course, some guidelines on how they can overcome these concerns. But I'm curious, if when companies come to you and they ask, how do they start their AI journey? Can you tell us, how do they start?
Yes, and this is where I want all of you to feel really good and confident. And I've created a couple step-by-step plans on how to get started. So firstly, create your strategy. So again, we heard that 62.5% of organizations have already implemented an AI strategy or plan. That's fantastic, and this is not just specifically for DAM, but this is for AI for the whole organization. So congratulations to any of you whose companies already have an AI strategy in place. And then for the almost 40% of organizations without an AI strategy, don't panic. This is what we're here to help you with, and we want to make sure that you get a strategy in place so that you can be successful with AI. And I think that's really important. I have seen some organizations who kind of jump into it without a strategy, and that can often lead to failures or sunk costs and lots of wasted time. So I highly recommend that you go in with a strategy. And to do that, start with the why. This is your vision and objectives. Think about what problems you're trying to solve, and really define the use cases and expected benefits for each of your whys, right? This is really important because we want to always start with the problem. What is it we're trying to solve, rather than start with the end technology. Imagine just going out and getting, a license for ChatGPT for the whole organization without really thinking, well, what is the organization going to use it for? What happens if, ChatGPT gives us the wrong answers? What is it that we want it to do, and how can we build that and manage that going into the future? The next thing to think about is to identify the types of data or metadata that are needed to support your use cases. So again, the data is going to be so important, particularly if you need to train your AI. So if you want to train it on your own brand materials, those brand materials need to be high quality. They need to come from a reputable source. They need to be cleaned up as much as possible. And also we want to think about, which of this data are we willing to share with AI, and which of this data maybe should not be shared with AI. And again, that's kind of an ethical consideration. Then we need to start building our team, and we need the humans. I want to stress this so much. Like, the technology is not the answer, but technology led by humans is the answer. So let's get the right team in place. So if we have AI specialists, data scientists, DAM experts, and other key stakeholders along on the ride, then we can really ensure kind of a better implementation. And if we don't have those experts in-house, that's okay. Not everybody is going to. Again, we're right at the beginning, so there's very few people who are real AI experts. It's an interesting title. But so yeah, do consider working with external consultants or upskilling your employees in the process so that we can all get up to speed with this. Then we want to establish an AI governance and risk framework. And this goes back to some of the previous pages where we were talking about ethics and biases in AI. We need to have a risk framework in place to understand what's the appetite for risk or the risk tolerance of my organization. And also, what can we do to manage data security and our intellectual property? Really important things to think about before you get started. Again, I've seen this go wrong, and it can go catastrophically wrong if you don't plan for this. And finally, prioritize, right? So with any implementation, think about your roadmap. Which use cases do you want to start with? Which use cases maybe do you want to think about in a year's time? And start to identify which tools, AI tools, DAM systems, other marketing technology tools that are going to help you to achieve your milestones along the roadmap. So again, remember, an early step in your roadmap must be experimentation and learning. Give your company some grace and some time to play around with things and see what happens before you try to achieve too many results.
Well, that's very insightful, and thank you for summarizing this in the 5 easy strategic steps. You've revealed some nice and interesting facts about the existing state of matter of how people are using AI in them, and what do they expect to get AI out of them, and what's holding them back. Of course, the concerns that also were expressed with this audience that we have at the webinar today. But what are some things that you want to stress out and point out, or key takeaways for our audience from the research you've done? And any final end notes, summaries?
Yeah, just a few final things to think about and keep in mind. Again, 69% of the organizations that we surveyed do plan to experiment with AI in DAM in this next year, in the next 12 months. So very exciting. And to all of you who hopefully are planning to experiment on this call, on this webinar with AI, this is very exciting. And I highly recommend you jump in feet first and give it a try, right? We're in a very nice phase right now where it's okay to test and learn, right? We don't necessarily need to get huge results at this point. And I think that we're in a fun space at the moment. So a few things that you can do as you're getting started for this year. So first, embrace AI learning in your DAM journey to stay ahead of the curve and to drive innovation. So learn as much as you can. Go out and try experimenting with some of the tools I showed you today, or if you want a list of tools that I think are fun and easy and free to use, drop me a message and I can send you some to start playing with. But the best way that we can get over that fear or the worry or any of our concerns is to just go out and try it. Second one is, don't settle for what's available in your DAM now. Like I said, it's amazing how our DAM vendors have started integrating AI tools, but we're right at the start of that journey. And I would say, don't wait for the tools to be integrated with your DAM. Go out and try some other tools and seek out the right tools for you. Again, the best approach for your company might be to bring your own AI to the party, and that's okay, but you need to know which AI tools those are. So go out and look beyond what's in your DAM. Then, like I said before in the strategy, define your company's specific AI use cases. We really have to understand the problem first. Develop your AI strategy and framework to ensure the success of any of these decisions and paths you go down. Make sure to start talking to your leadership now, right? You have an amazing opportunity to become one of the AI experts or specialists in your company if you're willing to get involved now. And I think your leadership would all appreciate you coming forward and saying, I want to do this. Give me a chance and give me the resources I need, and I will go out and try and make this work for us. And then finally, become your company's AI champion. So again, if you can learn and master AI concepts now, then you are going to become such a valuable person in your organization. So go out and get as much training and experience as you can. There's plenty of free training online. There are paid for courses. A lot of vendors are offering information and knowledge, and there's so many places to gain knowledge. So please do go out and start future-proofing your career now.
Thanks, Kristina. That's a very good action plan. I hope people are going to be finding it useful and follow it, of course. And we're about to wrap it up, so I'm going to run the download button for the report.
Oh,
We do have a couple of questions from the audience, so stay tuned. We have a couple of more minutes left for our Q&A.
great. And just as we jump into the Q&A, I just wanted to say again, a huge, huge thank you to WoodWing for supporting this research. You have been incredible, Magdalena and WoodWing, for making this all possible, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's always a pleasure to support the actions like these. As I said, just as a brief reminder to everybody that is not well aware or does not know about WoodWing in details, I won't go through the text and copy, but we've been around for more than 20 years, of course, and we have a global team of experts alongside our global partner network of system integrators and partners, business partners, that really do cater to the DAM implementation and DAM services by offering our own two DAM solutions, WoodWing Assets and WoodWing Swivel. So if you're interested to find out more about WoodWing, please check out our website and, of course, our respective products and solutions. And, of course, reach out to us if any interest arises. So thank you again, Kristina, for this extensive, of course, takeout on the research and trying to sum up everything. The research paper is available, and I'm sure people can start downloading it now. It's on the right side panel of the Webinar Geek panel that you see. Yes. Before we move into the Q&A, a big thank you. We were very happy to work with you, and hopefully we'll do something again next year, because this is a valid research for this year. So tides change and times change. So hopefully you'll do this in the future. And I'm going to start with the first question. We have Martin is asking, how many participants did take part in the survey? I believe this was already shared in the beginning, but Kristina, could you please again remind everybody?
Yeah, great question, Martin. So this year we had just over 200 participants in the survey. And again, a huge thank you to any of you who did take part. And I also want to invite all of you to stay in touch, because I want to keep doing this research year on year. We know that AI changes very quickly. So it'll be really interesting to run this research again and see what's changed. I'm probably aiming for end of this year so that we can go for a 2025, early 2025 results for the next round. So please stay in touch and do contribute to the next round of research. Hopefully it'll keep getting bigger and more people can contribute over time.
Thank you. We have a question. Hello, will this be available as recording post meeting? Yes, of course, Michael. We are going to share the recording with everybody that signed up for the webinar, and was, of course, all those people that weren't able to make it due to time zone differences. We have another question from Kevin. What distinguishes AI from automation?
Kristina? Oh, Kevin, great question. This is a good one, because a lot of organizations kind of mix the two. And to be honest, I'm not sure that that's really an issue in terms of terminology. I know in the DAM space, we really like to use the right terminology. But what I think is important is that what we're seeing with a lot of technologies is that they're calling themselves AI because that's the buzzword everybody wants to see on the front of their marketing materials. But what's going on in the background is probably a combination of really great tech, a little bit of AI magic mixed in there, and then you've got the automation. So the automation is anything that is related to business rules. So we can set up automation for anything where we can tell the system, if this happens, then do this, right? And it can trigger these automations. And so any of those business rules are more automation, but a lot of companies will say that they're AI. And I think this is part of the discussion that we should all be having with AI vendors is, if we need to know, particularly when it comes to those ethics and biases, what is this technology actually built on, and how does it get me the results that I need? What is the magic, happening behind the magic? let's talk to our vendors, right? Because we might find out it's more automation than AI. And as long as we can interrogate where the data is coming from and how it's being generated, it doesn't really matter how the tools are doing it. But I think for our ethical discussions, we might want to know a little bit more about that. But yeah, really good point. We do see a lot of companies that are doing probably 90% automation and a little bit of AI, but they still call themselves AI tools. And again, I think that's fine, but as long as they're transparent about it.
Thanks. We have another question from Jill. If our DAM vendor is providing the AI tool, why can't they help train the tool? It is their plugin.
Yeah, good question, Jill. And you know what? To be honest, do talk to your DAM vendors about it. There's no reason not to. But I think what's important to remember is that if your DAM vendor, even if they built the plugin, that doesn't necessarily mean that they own the AI solution, right? So when there's a plugin, there's usually two different vendors involved. There's your DAM vendor, and then there's the AI vendor. So I would say if you need help with the AI tool, the first person to reach out to is the AI vendor, not the DAM vendor. But do reach out to both, right? There's no harm in asking. And absolutely, if anybody's willing to help you train your tool, great, right? We can use all the support we can get. I think what I'm trying to say with this, with that statement, to say, let's not bother our DAM vendors too much with helping us train our AI tools, is really that we want our DAM vendors to focus on the core DAM functionality. And let's say, our DAM vendors have hundreds of clients, right? And if every single client is coming to them and saying, hey, can you help me train my AI tool? Then when are they ever going to fix all the things that we want them to fix, or improve or innovate on the DAM functionality itself? So that's all I'm saying. And Jill, absolutely do talk to your vendors, right? The best thing we can do is have open conversations about this.
Thank you, Kristina. And then another question: can AI help clean up our data set?
Oh, this is a good one, Eric. And you know what? I've actually been experimenting with this a bit. It's something that I've been trying to do, considering when I do some data migrations or data cleansing projects with clients. I'm trying to find ways to use AI to make that faster, easier, and even just in a big Excel spreadsheet, how can I use AI to make this faster and easier? And there are certain ways of doing it. I think I haven't found kind of the magic bullet for it yet. And maybe there's not just one tool out there. There might be multiple tools that I can combine, or we can combine to make it easier to clean up our data sets. But I think obviously the first place to start would be the metadata, automatic metadata tagging. So those functionalities are great because, you have a photograph of a red door. It's going to be able to identify that without any human having to clean up that data. So we can at least start with the basic level of using AI to help clean that up. But when it comes to kind of our messy, really, really messy data, then we still need humans involved. But yeah, if anyone knows of some great AI tools for cleaning up data, please do share with the community, because I think we're all looking for something like that.
And one last, it's probably not a question, it's more of a statement by Peter. Excellent presentation. One distinction I would like to note is between integration of AI and DAM, with AI at its core, or the DAM built on AI. This enables a number of capabilities that mitigate the key implementation issues and concerns that are specific to the former integration scenario, and the costs and budgets for implementation. So thanks, Peter, for sharing this. Kristina, if you have a comment for this, and if not, I believe we're almost coming close to our 1 hour reserved spot for this webinar. And yeah, I would like to wrap up.
Sure.
By saying to everybody, if we did not answer your question, we will, after this webinar. Kristina is going to personally follow up to the questions that were addressed to her. And of course, those to me, I will personally provide you with feedback. Again, thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm hopeful that you got the chance to download the report because that's served on the right side panel of the Webinar Geek under interactions. And yes, it was a pleasure having you today again, Kristina, and hopefully we'll collaborate on something similar or similar new projects soon. Thank you so much, everybody. And yes, see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.